So welcome everyone to our Resource YYC Lunch and Learn. So that everyone is aware, Resource YYC is a co-working community geared to professionals. We offer our lunch and learn sessions as a means for our community to network and provide meaningful learning opportunities. We also provide private office spaces, dedicated desks, day drop-ins, and virtual office options. If you're not yet a member with us, we encourage you to check out our website and follow us on social media. Links are posted in the chat. Today we have Ted Grove, who's a managing partner of the CIBN. Ted has been responsible for their growth in membership by over 65%. Over to you, Ted.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. This is a networking meeting. As we've discussed before, the idea of networking meetings is to grow your network. So to do that, you got to have your videos on so that people can see you and know, like, and trust you. At the end of every meeting, I encourage everybody to save the chat. I also encourage people to post their contact information in the chat. It's the same as a business card. You need people to be able to get in touch with you. That's why we post our contact information in the chat. And then also, one of the things I want you to do is you're going to spend an hour here with us today. So use this time to contact and make arrangements with the other people that are here in the meeting. Set up a meeting from this meeting with at least one other person. That's how you network. So I know that Trevor was thinking that he knew Chris best early on, but they found out that they didn't know each other. So now is a great time for them to make an arrangement to get to meet each other, so that they can know, like, and trust each other, and they can understand what each other does for a business. The person that you need may not be in this room, but somebody in this room definitely knows the person that you need to help grow your business. So that's the whole idea of networking, is to grow your network and be able to get referrals from people that you know, like, and trust. And conversely, it's a two-way street. You're going to give referrals to those that you know, like, and trust as well. So I'm just going to share my screen here. We'll run through it fairly quickly, and then if we have time for an open discussion at the end, I look forward to that. That's another part of networking, is asking questions. So you can keep your questions till the end, and then we can share them and understand what's going on. So here's my screen. And as you can tell, those are my little text blurbs that I have set up just so that we can do things quickly. So I'm going to talk about networking and the new way to network, because life changed about a year and a month ago, and it led to a lot of challenges for entrepreneurs and to people running their own business. Typical challenges are, of course, fear of failure. But of course, other challenges are, now that you're not able to walk down the street and go into somebody's office and meet with them, is you got to figure out how to grow your connections. And as we know, it's not what you know, but it's who you know. Most of the people from my discussions with Rosemary at Resource YYC is that we're a professional group. And so we know, we've got designations that show that we know what we know, but we're still looking for more business, and we get that through who we know. Typically, in small business, you've got shortfalls in the skill sets that you have. You may be good at sales, but you may not be great at accounting. Social media is new, and we can all improve on that. Or you may be very good at an engineering task or engineering skill, but in essence, you really aren't brought up to speed in sales or marketing or accounting. So those are the things that, is a fear and a challenge for small business. And of course, then we also always have the big challenge of cash flow and time. I've always found in my businesses that either I got enough money, and when I have enough money, I don't have enough time. And then conversely, when I got lots of time, I don't have enough money. Um, and so you've got to learn how to juggle, and you got to stop wasting time on things that don't work and things that are costing you money that don't work. So, and that's one of those examples is networking the wrong way. A little bit about me. This is my family. Off to the left there, that's my sons and my wife on Christmas Day of 2018, and we were walking around on the Kananaskis golf course before they started the renovations and the rejuvenation of it. And so we just spent a nice day up there. And then there we are on the right. It must have been my eldest son's birthday because he's sitting there at the head of the table. And that's just the family. And that's why we do what we do in business, is to have great events with our family. I was born in Calgary. The mustache took a little while to come in later. I spent 30 years selling technology in the energy industry, and lo and behold, it stopped. When you're selling exploration software and exploration technology and there's no exploration, you're selling to no one. And I based my whole career on that network, and it was 200 decision makers. And when I finally was looking for work, 180 of the decision makers that I knew were out of work too. My network was very, very small. And my network was actually quite global as well. I knew people in all through the US, the UK, people busy in South America, people busy in Africa, people busy in the Asia Pacific areas. And yet all of my contacts were down to 20 people working, and they had no work. So I did what everybody does. I go back to what I did that was successful for finding work back in the 80s, the last time I was unemployed. And I spent 5 years doing things that old way, phoning people up, making meetings, bringing in my resume, talking to them about what they're doing, and doing it in the energy industry, and doing the same thing the same way with no results. And so a fellow way smarter than me defined that as insanity. And so I had to take a look at what I was doing, and I used my network. And one guy in my network, Al Del Deegan, with technology placement service run by the Manpower, said, "Hey, I should go talk to the CIBN." And so I did. And I chatted with Carrie at the CIBN, and I realized I was not doing anything that was going to get me any kind of livelihood. There was just too many people out there competing for the too few jobs in the energy industry. There was a lot of people who were younger and probably wanting to get back into the energy industry, so they found work, but I didn't. And I was driving home from a meeting where a guy offered me a 6-month position where I would get 40% commission on the sales of IT goods and services, but nothing up front. And I realized that basically in 6 months, I was going to get really close to closing 6 deals. I might close one. And then I would fill up their Rolodex with contacts, and they would let me go. And so I realized that I got to work for myself. I can't work for other people. And so I found Carrie at the CIBN, and Carrie said, "Well, you can work with us, and you can have the same things as ownership." And I become the managing partner. And so through the CIBN, last year I did over 500. Me, myself personally, I did over 500 networking meetings with more than 10 people in each meeting. Sometimes it's the same 10, but different. Um, I implemented a bunch of business systems into a very entrepreneurial business, and we took a look in January. I have a brother who works at AltaLink and another good friend who works at an international oil company. And they both said that they were scared of this thing coming out of China. We had an online event. We had online meetings, started those in early 2019. And we went and instituted a plan. And as Trevor, who's been involved with the CIBN, will testify, we didn't miss a meeting. We said one Friday, next week we're going to online meetings, and started online meetings on Monday. And that was the Friday that Sunday night, the big shutdown came in. So we were very fortunate. We had a bunch of ability to adapt and pivot. And so that was in early 2019. And because we went online and because we were able to adapt and pivot quickly, we have acquired groups all across North America. We have members in most of the major cities down the East Coast, from Boston to Tampa. We've got members who join us regularly from the Asia Pacific countries, Taiwan, and the Philippines. We've got people in the EU and Britain who have joined us, as well as in Northern Africa and Egypt. All in the last year, because we were able to pivot and adapt. And people are saying, well, you're telling me a lot about the CIBN, but why is that important? Is because we know in Calgary that since 2016, there's been a lot of businesses that were strong and steady in 2016 and have gone the way of the dodo bird today. We have local businesses going broke, huge problems with commercial vacancy. But our CIBN members have been experienced great results in the middle of all of this because they've built strong networks. And that's the thing that has enabled us to grow so rapidly, is that we have built these strong networks, and people have connections outside of Calgary. So we run into a friend who's got somebody who's a friend who's in Saskatoon, and they might like it. And lo and behold, we've got a Saskatoon club in joining us. We've got a friend of a friend who knows someone in Raleigh, North Carolina, and lo and behold, we've got clubs in all up and down the eastern seaboard because of this connection into North Carolina. So it's all terrific in how that works. And it's just because we help others connect, they help us connect. With the CIBN, that's a little bit of a byline. We lost 4 businesses in 2019. And I think we lost them more because they decided to retire than to continue up the good fight. But 4 out of 200, that's 2%. Only 2% have gone out of business over the last year that we've been dealing with. So that's terrific. We're a community of connections and connected people. Those people in the background actually are all members with us in the CIBN. Some of them are in small little rural towns in Alberta, and others of them are in North Carolina and in Omaha and other places through the US, and they all work and do business together. So in the next 40 minutes, I promise to give you as much information as I can to show you how you can use networking and use it to transform your business into a thriving environment. Oh, wrong way. Um, we cover a new and modern way of networking, and it does work. And that's the cool thing. So when I was busy building my career in the 80s, this was kind of the way it would go. I would pick up the phone. I'd ask someone for a meeting. Maybe I didn't know them. Maybe I did know them. They say, nah, I can't do a meeting. Okay, how about a coffee? Meet at Second Cup, spend my $5 with them. Hey, they'd have a cup of coffee on me. We'd discuss what their pain was. I'd ask for a second meeting, and maybe they'd say yes, and maybe they say, call me in a month. And I'd repeat that 40 times a week. And so if you do the numbers, that's 40 times $5. That's $200 a week was my expense account just for coffee. And they'd have throw in a couple of lunches and all of that good stuff. And so that cost a lot of money and took a lot of time. It was one-on-one. And then came voicemail. And so then all of a sudden you got, hey, I'm just busy right now. Kindly leave a message. And so it'd take me 20 calls to get one person to answer. And so you try different ways of getting to meet people. And then came computers and emails and Palm Pilots and PDAs and smartphones. And it just ended up getting less and less fruitful for the amount of time that you were spending at it. And that's one of the reasons why my network went from huge in the 80s to quite small in the 2010 to 2015 area time frame, and that's because people were making and doing business differently. Will networking ever change back to that old way? And no, I don't think so. Meeting face to face is just not available right now, and it's also very time consuming. Everyone is online now anyway. I mean, I know that people are attending this meeting and they're not in, maybe a few of you are in an office place somewhere, but most of you are in your home office. Everybody had to pivot and thrive. We're now used to doing a lot of work from a home or from a secure space. And I think the large businesses have realized that there's no need to have the huge office towers full of people. I think the resource staffs at Suncor and other places are just not going to be built that way. I know a guy who's doing an awful lot of international oil work, as I said before, and he's just not doing it from the office. They've got everything set up where they can log into complex servers on the web, and they can do the processing, the geomodeling that they used to do in 4 weeks in the office on good computers. They can now do it in 4 hours on Amazon Web Services. So I don't think it's going to go back to the old way. It's not purely LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is a start. So what do you need to do? Well, the first thing that you always need to do is have a great social media profile. I think you need to make sure you've got a good professional picture. Change the banners within LinkedIn. Make sure your banner stands out. It can show what you do. It can show where you are, but make sure it's a good picture. Make sure the picture of you is a nice picture of your face. Don't have it as a mugshot. I'll show you an example of that in a little while. You then reach out to people one at a time to make appointments. And I hope you're doing it from this meeting. You've got, I think we've got 14 people in the meeting now. I'm not sure, but that's reach out and meet with those people, get to know them. They may not be the person you want, but they if you get to know them, they'll get to be people that you know, like, and trust. And I'm prepared to give people that you know, like, and trust my business. And that's one of the reasons why um, I know, like, and trust Trevor Baker, who has just left us. But I know, like, and trust Trevor, and I'm prepared to give referrals to him of other people that I know, like, and trust. The next thing that this has all done is it solved the time problem, which is a really critical thing if you're in small business. If you asked a business coach, hey, I can meet 15 people in an hour and I can get one-on-one meetings with all of them, and it doesn't cost me as much as the old way, it doesn't cost me that $200 a week that coffees cost, and I can do it in 1/3 the time, and I can do it every day, what would he say? He'd say, go do it, grow that network. So when we're online, we've solved these problems. We don't have to drive to meetings. The CIBN, there's no volunteerism, and you should look for networking groups that don't have volunteerism. Resource YYC is a great place. For a little bit of a fee for rentals and rooms, you can have access to other people and people there at the Resource YYC. And so that's a great way of doing it. By making a meeting from this meeting, you don't have to phone someone to say, hey, I saw you at the meeting yesterday. You've already done that while they were at the meeting. They've got time, they're here now, and you've got time, you're here now, and it's simple and quick to put into the chat box. So that's a good thing to do. And then one nice thing about a lot of the online networking groups nowadays is that they do offer an awful lot of training, and they offer you training in things that are going to save you time. Today, I've given you a number of hints already on how to save time. Book meetings from a meeting, be prepared to have your information pasted in the chat, and then don't be afraid to talk to people and ask them what they do. When you learn about their business, they get to know, like, and trust you, and they'll return the compliment and ask you about your business, and they'll get to know, like, and trust you. If you were doing networking the old way, you might have to pay an initiation fee. You might have to then also pay for meals. Got to leave the office, drive to where the restaurant, have the meeting. It just costs a lot of money. The old way. The new way, my laptop is 8.5 years old. The only thing I've spent in the past year to help me with networking is this headset. So, that's a great return. And so you get more from your business. At the CIBN, we have a lot of training. I'd like people to check out CIBN TV. Now, make sure you don't get there's 2 CIBN TVs. One of them is actually out of the Asia Pacific areas, and that isn't going to help you on YouTube, but on YouTube, the CIBN TV YouTube, and we've got loads of business tips. Every one of our members also has an infomercial there, where 30 seconds, where it describes what they do. And so you can understand and learn what they do before you have to make the connection. You get to know, like, and trust them. And we also have a great quarterly planning session. And quarterly planning is so important for every business, but even for small business. Look at where you are today. Look at where you want to be in 5 years. Look at where you want to be in 10 years. Do the backtracking, and then see what you need to do this quarter, and then design the quarter to make it work. And we have a whole day course on that at the CIBN. Everybody's saying, okay, well, the guy I need isn't there. And that's true. The person that you need and that you want, your white knight, so to speak, probably isn't going to be in your networking meeting. but somebody in this meeting knows the person that you want. And if they know, like, and trust you, they'll give you uh, his or her name, and they will warm up that referral so that they take you seriously and learn about what's going on. This is an interesting fellow here, Ray L. Kelly from Strategic Pathways. Ray L. Kelly is an executive business coach. He has worked with the senior executives of Shaw and with the senior executives of Suncor. And he doesn't, he's like a supermodel. He doesn't get out of bed unless it's $25,000 a year. And these people are lining up to see him. And he's a member of the CIBN. And one of our more ambitious salespersons saw that he was in our office building, and they went down to his floor, and they noticed that there was nobody else on the floor. He rents the entire floor because he doesn't want to have neighbors. Neighbors interrupt what he's doing. So our salesman went up, knocked on the door, and he came out and said, yes, hello. And said, I'm with the CIBN. I was wondering if you'd like to join us for a networking meeting. And he goes, no. And our salesman, being a normal salesman, took that as saying, well, that doesn't mean today. So he knocked on the door tomorrow, the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And finally he said, listen, I'll come to one of your meetings because that will get you to shut up, and then I can say no. So he came to the meeting, and he looked around, and he didn't see anybody that he wanted in the room, but he enjoyed the company with the people, and he enjoyed the lunch that he had. So he bought a membership. He decided he'd try it out for a year. And at the end of the year, his accountant said, you know that $4,000 you spent on CIBN? And he goes, yeah, I guess. Yeah, I remember that. So I should drop that membership? And the accountant said, no way. They have given you $60,000 worth of referrals in business. Now, here's a guy who only needed one or two more customers and was getting $25,000 a year from his customers at least. And he made $60,000 off of an investment in the CIBN. And yet none of the people that he did business with from referrals were in the room, but the referrals were there. And that's the power of referrals. He's since become a sponsor of the CIBN. He pays us $10,000 a year just to have the continuing rights to come to whatever meetings that we have that he wants to. I think we all understand that connections count when we're networking. The idea or the big question is, well, I can put ads on the radio, or I can put ads out on Facebook, or I can do whatever. But we need to make sure that you've got people who are listening to that radio. How many real connections does the radio station have? I guess that's why there's all of those surveys and things that go around and ask you which radio stations you're listening to and which shows. And then, of course, I answer the CBC, and so they then hang up. But and then how many real connections do you have? Like I said, in my career, as it was winding down, as I was in senior positions, I had 200 real connections. And was that enough? No, it wasn't anywhere near enough. If you don't have 10,000 connections, then you got to go out and buy Facebook ads. You got to buy Google ads. You've got to do things to get that count up. But imagine a network where everybody here in this room has 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 connections. Then when you post something and you're there in your network on LinkedIn, let's say, they will say, hey, Jordan just posted this great topic that he wants everybody to know about on LinkedIn. And I like that, and I like Jordan. So I'm going to share his post with my connections. And so Jordan's 3,000 connections now all of a sudden have become 6,000 connections. And then Chris says, hey, I saw Jordan do that. And I like Jordan, know, like, and trust him. I know he's a great guy. So Chris then takes it and builds it out. And so it's that old commercial, and so on and so on and so on. And pretty soon everybody's using that great, fabulous shampoo. But that's exactly the way it works when you've got a good, strong network behind you. Um, you may not have 10,000 connections, but the strength of the entire network. At the CIBN just itself, we've got over 80,000 followers. So when we post things, uh, it it gets seen by a lot of people, and everybody in the network then tends to repost things because it's topical and it's great. Those with the contacts are prospering. So networking is extremely important to develop that uh, um, pure connection with a huge number of people. Like I said, this fellow is John Nielsen with Franklin Auto. Um, this is his LinkedIn picture. Remember I said don't have it look like a mugshot? Well, you can tell because of the Monroe shock absorber sign in the back that John isn't too savvy with how networking works, but he is a terrific auto mechanic. And a year ago, he came to the CIBN and he said, two shops just in my little area, two auto mechanic shops have closed down. I'm afraid I'm going to lose everything. I haven't had a customer walk in 2 weeks. I've just run through all of the end of my bookings and I'm laying people off. And we said, well, John, let's get this in front of the network because you're a member, you're a sponsor. He's actually a sponsor with the network. One of the guys in the tax area said, well, does he realize that he's an essential service so he can stay open? So all he really needs to know is let people know that he's open for business. And so we posted a couple of posts throughout the CIBN network here in Calgary. There's a couple of Facebook pages that we have. One's called Networking, Networking, Networking. It's free to join. I suggest that everybody do that. And lo and behold, in August, he came to a CIBN meeting and he thanked us profusely. And he said, I'm sorry I haven't been at the meetings lately. I have just had the busiest summer I have ever had in my life. And it's because you guys got the word out for me. Thank you very much. He missed a lot of meetings since then and came back in January and said 2020 was the best year of his 18-year career. And that's the power of the networking. So what's the cost of networking? Well, what's it costing you to network already? There's certain expenses that you just can't avoid. So use those effectively. As I said, in the old way of networking, when I was doing it all personally, face-to-face, I was at least $200 to $300 a week. And at the CIBN, just for people to know, it's $59 a month. What's it costing you to do your networking? Well, if you're able to get to meetings in Resource YYC and go networking that way, it's not that expensive at all. And if you can join other networking clubs, if you could join the Chamber of Commerce, there's fees and other things associated with that. So what's it costing you and what's the return? We all know that this is what's happening in our economy. This is basically a summary. I like the bat the bottom statement that a good network is the vaccination to a bad economy. Um, and we at the CIBN have know and understand that. Like I say, when people are involved with strong networks, they end up with great support and great referrals. And we've seen that through the CIBN with the only few businesses that have gone out of business over the past year. Um, when networking works, you get more warm leads. You get a better understanding of what your customers want. Um, we're here in Resource YYC, which is for, as Rosemary mentioned, is basically geared towards those people, professionals. Um, and you may think that the person that you're working with wants one thing because that's what you basically are providing them. But maybe it's just a component of that that they really need, or maybe they want to have more of something else that you offer, but they don't know that about you. And so that's the idea with networking. It gets you to talk with your clients, it gets you to understand why they chose you. And then the next thing is you can go and find more just like them. The other thing is maybe Chris, maybe you are a business coach, and Jordan, maybe you are a accountant. You have a very similar set of clientele, but if you worked together in collaboration and shared your lists, you could put on a webinar, and that webinar could say, not only are we going to help you make sure that your accounting and the way you do your books presents the most value for your company, but we're also going to show you how you can manage that and optimize that so that in 5 years, your exit strategy will get you the most for your business. And that's the thing about small businesses. A lot of people want to have that exit strategy. And then you get that through collaboration. And that's what happens when networking works. 80-20, 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. And 80% of your problems come from 20% of your customers. Are they the same 20? Probably not. As entrepreneurs, we all have a strong urge to improve the lives of others. And we at the CIBN do that with a group that we call our Excalibur group. And what we do is we meet 3 times a month to discuss the issues of growing your business. As people say, if I can take a 6-week holiday and not worry about my business, I own my business. If I can't take a day off without worrying about my business owns me. And that's the idea of the Excalibur group, is how to get to owning your business. This looks kind of funny because I know that we don't have that many cities up in the Northwest Territories, but we're just talking about the global reach of the CIBN. As I said before, good networks don't have boundaries. Good networks are everywhere that they need to be. You can find people who know people anywhere, and they will give you those referrals because they know, like, and trust you. At the CIBN Connect, I'll just quickly go through. This is a picture of one of our CIBN meetings. I don't know if people know, but that's one of our sponsors that went out of business, that restaurant. That was China Rose. And they just decided to close down at the beginning of COVID. They didn't want to continue on. But this is what we have what we offer to all of our members. And I'm going to go quickly because that's the tip of the iceberg of networking. And this is everything that you get to when you deal with a good, strong network. So I would encourage people to take a look at what true networking is about and how to add that to everything that you do. Um, you're the one that's going to do the networking. Treat every meeting you go to as a networking meeting. Get another meeting from it. Get referrals from it. Learn about the other person's business so that you can, if you can't solve their issue, maybe you know someone who can. Um, this is the right timing. As we know, shortly, the world is going, hopefully within the next year, 6 months, August, I don't know, we're going to come out of the COVID lockdowns. Um, and now's the right time to get started, so that if you need to do things one-on-one, face-to-face, if you have to go into offices to look at records and files and things, make sure that you're ready to do that now, and that you're ready to and able to do set the groundwork now, so that you can hit the streets running. And if only I had done it years ago. And that's my own personal story. I wish that I had known about this style of networking 20 years ago. I probably wouldn't have stayed in the energy industry as long as I did. And I probably would hopefully be um, in the position where I'm running my business instead of my business running me, which it still is right now. I'll tell you, the CIBN is running me. This is an interesting story. This woman is Leah Fink. Leah decided a year ago that she was going to leave her not-for-profit. She was doing uh, um, addiction recovery with at-risk youth. Um, and so she decided a year ago that she would, or a year and a half ago, that she would leave in the early 2019. And she got herself all ready to go, and she ended her contract in January of 2020. Oh no, that was a bad time, wasn't it? She had a very hard time um, filling her webinars. She was going to go and do counseling and communications between parents and kids, and try and interrupt the cycles that led to youth being at risk. She had lined up with the school boards and with a variety of community halls to be able to give sessions and have webinars or seminars where introductory to it. And then just as she was getting started, COVID locked it down and she had no idea what to do. However, she did say that, the best first $59 she ever spent was with the CIBN. And she went and grew her network. And now she is charging for online webinars and making more money than she was thinking she was going to make. And that's a true smile, isn't it? That's a very happy person. For anybody who's still here, one thing I've got is for you, you can text me for registration, and you can come to a free CIBN meeting and learn how to network and learn about what we're all about. And, you can discover how we network and what we do. So, Rosemary, I kind of burned through that pretty fast. We've got about 15 minutes left, I think. So if there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to open the floor to questions. I hope everybody has made a meeting from the meeting. And I see that, so I'll just stop sharing my screen and we can go.
Does anyone have any questions or want to just follow up on anything that's been said?
Maybe I'll start off. Um, I would just like to hear what the networking group could do for a startup, a new launch. Ted, how would you approach that kind of thing?
That's an absolute terrific question, Ed. I think primarily I'd like to know a little bit more about what it is that you're trying to do. But in essence, I think the important thing is to not make the same mistakes that typically happen for new launches. And I would say that one of the best ways to avoid that is with mentoring and some sort of mentorship. The CIBN is open for mentorship. That's basically what that Excalibur Mastermind group is a mentorship. It runs in a series of different ways. What I would say is that the main idea is, can you answer those tough questions quickly and honestly? And if you can answer those tough questions, then these are a group of people who'd be able to support you and get you to do it. In certain instances, mentorship is very expensive. If you wanted to go out and get Brent Wilson as a mentor, he may only have 5 minutes, and that's between the fourth and the fifth hole at the golf course. And so you got to buy a membership of the golf course to be able to meet with him between the fourth and the fifth hole. But on the other side of it, are you making mistakes when you are getting your word out? Are you spending money in a place that doesn't provide the proper results, the results that you need? A good example is you may say, okay, I'm going to go and get some Google ads and some Facebook ads and try and target people that way because I need to grow my connections. So I will tell you that 90% of the people who say that I can grow your network through targeted ads on Facebook or Google don't understand that Google and Facebook were just forced to change their algorithms. In the 1st of April, the big discussions in the US were that targeted Facebook ads are now way too invasive on people. So the governments have said, well, you can't target ads on Facebook. Well, now, if let's say Lisa is a accountant and she runs a Facebook group, Calgary Accounting, I couldn't target Calgary Accounting on my Facebook ads. So I would spend my money, buy so many ad spots, and it might go out to be put in front of somebody looking at stereo speakers or wherever. So those changes are important. And so as a startup, you got to learn where to spend and point your business. So, and your money. Let's be, I was thinking that the idea is to be able to focus yourself in places that provide the return for the time that you spend. As with all startups, time is the critical part. Let's get the customer quickly. Let's provide them with the service or good that they need. And then let's find out why they bought from us so that I can go and repeat that cycle. Part of it is through automation. Once you know what people are looking for, then if you can automate it, that's a good thing. Does that answer you, Ed?
Yeah, thanks, Ted. That's great.
All right. Gary, you asked a question there. Did you want to expound on that?
Which question was that?
I saw in the direct message. Did you ask a few?
I did.
All right. Well, let's start at the start and run through it.
Oh, okay. Well, I think just from the sounds of it, we have a somewhat similar background. We're both in long-term oil and gas, or we had been. Of course, I'm still getting some work in that area, but it it slowed down a lot, as you know. So I have had some contact with CIBM. Person named Kerry George.
Yeah, Carrie's one of our founder and one of my partners.
Yeah. So I think we did go to a luncheon meeting a few years ago. It was we weren't sure. Like it was a where you go in, they bought pizza and we had some pizza and they kind of talked about what it was, what it was, and but my concerns were that I couldn't see how they would necessarily help me to meet the decision makers, i.e., your own words, as to who decides and picks the well site geologist to go out on the projects. So they're few and far between. So I didn't see a clear means of meeting those people through CIBN because there's a very few of them, and maybe I might meet one, possibly two, but
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying, coming from?
Yeah, and that's the thing. We know that in networking, and especially small entrepreneurial networking, that the person that you need probably is not in the room.
Exactly.
However, somebody's neighbor, somebody's friend, somebody's brother, that somebody is in that room. And so those are the things that that can help through networking. Now, you're right. Which is the best network for Gary if he's looking to uh, do and start doing well site geology work? You definitely need the drilling manager, the drilling engineer, or someone within the company. And then the next thing is how's Gary going to line up against the other 400 guys that are in that lineup, right? And so those are great concerns, Gary. I would say that definitely you got to work on your network. I don't know. Um, like there's lots of guys, and you see the issue is where do you want to go? I mean, maybe there's nobody drilling in Canada, but I do know some guys that are drilling in Kurdistan. You want to go there?
Sure.
Probably. Yeah. The answer is yes, right? So, Gary, we should talk after the meeting because that's a great thing. You've posted your information in the chat, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Made a meeting from the meeting. That's exactly
Perfect.
how you do it. Okay.
I want to, well, I'm just thinking of some new undertakings, thinking of maybe dog walking, dogs, pet sitting, um, totally removed from what I've done in the past. But, um, you know, I think seeing that possibly, or I'm sure CIBN could easily develop those types of contacts.
Oh, very, very much so. Actually, one of our sponsors is Edgemont Veterinary Clinic. So you can go, as a CIBN member, we can introduce you there, and you can end up posting a flyer, networking the old-fashioned way in the vet. But then also you can make referrals and connections with people. And I mean, the CIBN profile is the same profile as society. And there are loads of people who are in Calgary who want those services. And so it's just a matter of reaching out and connecting.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Gary. So we'll chat. How about, well,
Does anybody else
shoot
want
me.
to
Yeah.
chat?
Yeah.
Make a
Laura,
connection.
do you have any questions?
I guess the only thing so we can make a file out of the chat, is that correct?
Yeah. So are you on a computer?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you see the chat box and you see where it says file, and then there's 3 dots over there in the corner.
I don't have 3 dots. No.
You can left click and select all, or right click and select all.
Yeah. And so, or you can go into the chat box, right click, select all, and then copy it into a Word document or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And so there you have everything. Everybody should take and copy the chat. Everybody who's stuck to the end, shoot me a text. I think I gave my phone number in there.
Maybe post it again.
And there it is again. And then also check out our calendar at the CIBN, just like you'll check out the Resource YYC's calendar. They run an awful lot of events every week, and it's a great resource for you. So please use the resources you've got at hand. I know that Rosemary does a terrific job. She was great to deal with. So Rosemary, thank you very much for providing me with this forum to chat with people. I appreciate that. I think the key to networking is to work at it. Encourage the use of the chat.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody else have anything they want to share, or?
Lisa?
No, I don't. I came to it from an Eventbrite to learn a little bit more about networking, because I recently finished school not too long ago. So I'm a newer grad, and then trying to piece together that and my work experience and go forward. Yeah.
We've got some terrific programs that help with the growth of people as they move through and are out looking for work, searching for work, as Gary and Ed knows, are things that you need to be able to do. And the network is great. So thank you for joining us. I hope I've helped you. I wish for everybody to reach out on LinkedIn and connect with me. That's one way to grow your network. And I'll just get my LinkedIn connection here for everybody. Just waiting for it to come up. And one of the things that we do that is really cool is we have a course free for CIBN members on how to supercharge your LinkedIn profile. So if anybody's looking to grow and build their LinkedIn profile, that's one thing that's great. And we regularly sell that course for $599. So membership is cheap. Am I allowed to say that, Rosemary? I don't know. Thank you very much for putting up with me for doing a little bit of sales, but that's part of networking. All right, everybody. Any other questions? Okay. Rosemary, I want to thank you very much for having or providing me with this opportunity to present the CIBN. And if anybody wants to get in touch with me to do more, my phone and connection information is in the chat.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for participating and joining us today for learning.